Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? In today's video, we're gonna give this exterior of this Macan some love. Just to get straight into it, it needs a good decon on the outside. After all that, I'm gonna go ahead and use a all-in-one polish. So it's gonna be a light polish that's gonna help remove potential marring that was caused from the clay bar. This vehicle, to be honest, it's in really good condition. I'm not seeing a whole lot of swirling or spider webbing in the paint. We have some bug guts up front right here. I don't really know how long they've been there. Hopefully they didn't etch into the clear coat. But with this service we're gonna provide today, hopefully in the future, at least for the next few months, the front end of this vehicle is gonna be protected from further bug guts and stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure when the last time the exterior of this was detailed. Usually my client, the owner of this vehicle, takes care of it himself, but he just hasn't had time. He's a busy guy, so he asked if I could go ahead and just dial this exterior in, and that's what I'm gonna do. Real quick, the goal of this detail is gonna be to just completely refresh it. I'm not gonna coat it with the ceramic coating. The client doesn't know I'm doing all this. I just kind of took the liberty to do it myself. So this is gonna be a perfect opportunity to use this product that I actually purchased by accident. So full transparency, I was not planning on using this today or pretty much ever. I bought it by accident, but it is a pretty good product. Actually, that's not fair to say. I wouldn't say it's a pretty good product because I have no experience behind it. This is Colonite all-in-one polishing wax. Colonite's been around for a couple years longer than I've been alive, and they're a really reputable brand. I meant to buy their Carnauba wax, but instead I accidentally bought their all-in-one polishing wax. It's been sitting in my cabinet for a couple months now, so I'm gonna see exactly what it does. If it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. So this is gonna be kind of a how-to video, whether you wanna offer these services yourself in your own detailing business, or if you are looking to get a detail yourself. This would be a good video to at least get an idea of the way I do things with Central Detail, which is my professional detailing company in Central Florida. So yeah, just getting straight into it, I'm gonna go ahead and prep my wash bucket. I'm only using a one wash bucket method. The most common washing method is a 2-bucket wash method, but I'm using 2 different wash pads for this. One's gonna be for one side of the car, and the other wash pad's gonna be for the separate side of the car. By the way, this is what a wash pad is. It's not a wash mitt, it's just a spongy material with microfiber lining, I guess you could call it. And I'm gonna use somewhat of a pH neutral soap in here. A lot of my heavy lifting is gonna be done with the foam cannon, which you'll see here in a second. All right, so getting straight into it, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the wheels and tires. This is just common standard practice amongst detailers when detailing a vehicle. You always start with the dirtiest part. It wouldn't make any sense to start with the paint work, and then risk getting all this brake dust crap on the paint as I'm rinsing it off, so on and so forth. I'm just blabbing on now. So these look like an anodized wheel. I'm not too sure, to be honest. So to play it safe, I'm gonna use a wheel cleaner. It's called Alkali Wheel Cleaner by Kashgimi. It has a pH of 14, I believe, and it's gonna be really good at kind of breaking up the brake dust that's sitting on these wheels. You see right here, there's a lot, but this is a really good product for removing the staining out of the sidewalls of these tires. We have some browning right here. I'm not gonna chase all the browning in the tire because whenever I dress the tires, it's gonna be fine, and I'm not gonna waste my time scrubbing it. They're not super dirty anyways. Sometimes I'll wet the wheel first with my pressure washer. This time I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna go straight into soaking the wheel with my wheel cleaner. Make sure I get in all these cracks and crevices and spokes. Nothing is safe from me. Oh my gosh. All right, don't forget the fender liners. Usually I wear a mask, a respirator when I do this, but I can't talk with it on. All right, and I just have a simple boar's hair brush. I'm gonna go ahead and start scrubbing. I'm gonna be very meticulous with this. That's why I'm using a boar's hair brush. Usually I would probably use a microfiber wheel mitt, but in this instance, boar's hair brush it is. Sometimes I wear gloves too. Most of the time I'll wear gloves, but for the sake of recording, I'm not gonna do it. All right. So brush for the entire wheel face. I'm gonna get my wheel barrel brush. Get in here. You know what, I'm gonna spritz a little bit more on here to kind of keep things activated. All right, so right here I have my sidewall brush. It's a rather stiff bristle brush. I think it's just a nylon bristle brush. Nothing special, super cheap too. Excuse me, it's like $6, I think. Super slippery though, holy crap. Try to get this lip right here without getting the wheel. All right, so this is a carpet fender liner. I'm not gonna even scrub it, I'm just gonna spray it, let the product do its work. All right, now that the wheels and tires are all nice and shiny, we're gonna go ahead and start on the decontamination process of the rest of the body. So there's gonna be many steps to the decontamination process that we're gonna have to complete before we even think about touching a polisher to the paint. First things first is I wanna get rid of these nasty bug guts, and I wanna do it in a way where I don't have to scrub super hard. I think that's gonna be the case though. A lot of these are gonna be removed from the clay bar, I think, but listen. By the way, don't do this at home. That is a telltale sign that they're kind of gonna be a pain. So to hopefully make my job a little bit easier here, I'm gonna go ahead and pre-treat the forward-facing parts of this vehicle with a degreaser. This is called Cocoa Plus. Shout out Aiden Miner for telling me about this stuff. It's pretty good. I've used it with him before. And I'm gonna go ahead and spray it on the heavily contaminated surfaces with bug guts. Let it soak. I'm not gonna even wet the car first. I'm just gonna spray this product directly on. It is diluted 6-to-1, I wanna say. Roughly, I don't really measure my dilutions. I just eyeball it. I've been doing it for so long now. But I'll go ahead and spray it on, let it sit. I'm gonna prep my foam cannon once I'm done spraying it, and by the time I'm done with the foam cannon, hopefully this product will have had time to work. Cocoa Plus is also gonna go in the foam cannon too, so while this product is still sitting on the vehicle, I'm gonna go ahead and foam back over it and let this stuff kind of work, do a lot of the heavy lifting. And it's just gonna be probably the 2/3 down of the hood. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's got kind of an orangish, brownish tint to it. I want to work fast here because I don't like the idea of this stuff sitting on the surface for too long. I'm in a climate controlled garage here, so it's not like I'm sitting in direct sunlight. And it's pretty cool in here, a little humid because I've been spraying some water in here. That should aid in keeping this stuff on the surface for quite some time without it drying. Get it on the mirror caps here too. I think we are good to go. All right, I'm gonna move fast here because I got this spray on here, this Cocoa Plus, but I'm gonna go ahead and prep my foam cannon. I'm using Cocoa Plus also in the foam cannon, about 200 milliliters. And then I'm gonna also use Kosh Chemie. All right, so here's an unrinsed area. The foam's kind of falling off the vehicle. But what I want to show you here is the stripping power that this pre-soak has. Hopefully, what we're going to see after I rinse it off here is the water lays flat on the panel. I don't want to see it beating up. If it's beating up on the panel right here, that means that there's still some sort of sealant, but we want to remove that so that way we can get to the contamination embedded in the paint, so that way we could reapply a new sealant and also polish the paint. So just going to spray it real quick. So this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to see. I don't see a lot of separation of the water. Here's some separation right here. There might still be some sealant right there, but for the most part, there's no protection on this paint, at least from what I could see, and that's a really good sign. That means the product works, and we're gonna get really good results when we go to decontaminate the rest of this vehicle and then go to polish it. All right, so I've been rinsing for some time now, and because there's water flying all over the place, a lot of the foam is rinsed off. Now that I'm gonna go ahead and rinse off the area where a lot of the bug guts were, I'm probably gonna hold my pressure washer gun, or the tip rather, a little closer than I usually would. I'm gonna be careful around the logo right here. I don't wanna risk blowing it off with the pressure. Highly unlikely, but still, I'm probably just gonna dance around it a little bit. And I wanna blow off as much of the bug guts as I can. You gotta be careful with this because some pressure washers will cut into the clear coat or paint, whatever paint system you have. But in this instance, it's an electric pressure washer with very low pressure but high output, meaning a higher flow of water, but not coming out as fast. And I'm gonna do this for pretty much all the hood, the windshield, the mirror caps, and the front grille right here. That actually worked really well on the hood here. I could see some spots where there's still a little bit of bug gut residue scattered throughout the front end of this vehicle. So we've done the wheels and tires. We've done the pre-soak, which is a foam cannon, and the spray on the front end of this vehicle. Now we're gonna go into the contact wash, which is just using a wash pad or wash mitt, whatever you have, to wash your vehicle with. That's gonna agitate the surface obviously, and remove the surface level contamination. After that, we're gonna use an iron remover. We're gonna rinse the iron remover off and then clay bar it. So in my wash bucket, I have auto shampoo again. It's just a gentle wash. It doesn't need to do any heavy lifting. I just wanna remove the bulk of the loose contamination before my clay bar. And I'm not really too worried about marring the paint with this, mainly because the car wasn't nasty. It just has a lot of embedded contamination, and the embedded contamination isn't gonna get agitated with this wash pad, you know, that's what the clay bar is for. and the chemical decontamination side, which is the pre-soak and the iron remover. So yeah, there's really not a whole lot of risk of marring the paint here. That's why I'm only using 2 wash pads. And I want to get this done quick because, you know, time's money, I guess. So I would never use just 2 wash pads to detail the exterior of a vehicle with. I have a different process for that. That's going to be for another video. But whenever I do a full decontamination and I'm already polishing the paint, I'm not using a very safe method is just going to create more work for me. And not because I'm a business, but because, I mean, it's just for anybody. Why would you want to do more work than necessary? So if you're at home watching this and you want to try this exactly to the T, what I'm doing today, I'll kind of go ahead and make it clear here. For 1 wash pad, I'm going to start with the roof, or I'm sorry, the hood. That's, you know, that's going to be the biggest surface area where it's going to be the easiest to scratch if you do scratch. And then I'm going to work on the rest of the horizontally laying surfaces. So it's going to go from the windshield to the roof. And I'm not applying hardly any pressure, just the weight of my hand, maybe a little bit more. You know, everybody says, oh, just use the weight of your wash media to wash the car with. But whenever you're doing a decontamination wash, there's really nothing wrong with putting a little bit more elbow grease into it. I'm not putting like 20 pounds into it though. Just a little extra oomph. Then, as I work to the sides, I'm going to start with the front because that's going to be the least dirtiest, and then work my way back because back here, the flow of air is going to bring all the dirt towards the back. And I'm also going to start with the highest 2/3 of the vehicle. And this is all on one side of the wash pad too. I mean, use a lot of soap in your wash bucket. Auto shampoo by Kashkimi's very high quality detergent, so you know it's going to give you a lot of lubrication. And then you're going to do straight lines back and forth, side to side, not up and down, side to side, for the most part, as much as possible. On some body panels, you're going to have to kind of go up and down a little bit if it's a shorter panel, or shorter surface rather. Man, I'll tell you what, talking and washing is pretty hard. So before I get too far down, I'm going to move to the back here and just knock this out real quick. The back is going to be the dirtiest part of the vehicle, aside from underneath it, obviously. And then lightly finish out the rest of this vehicle. So right here's a perfect example. It's kind of a short surface area, so I will go up and down right here. Also, as I'm moving along here, I am inspecting my pad, making sure that I'm not picking up any rocks or leaves or anything like that. I'm good for the most part. Not even for the most part, I'm good. There was no heavy contamination that would risk abrading this vehicle badly. People make it out to be so scary. That's really not scary. I've washed so many freaking cars, it's not even freaking funny. Now, again, this is only for a decontamination wash. I would not do this for just a regular maintenance detail. All right, time for a rinse. This isn't gonna be a super thorough rinse. All right, so that wasn't a super thorough rinse. I just wanted to get the bulk of the soap off. You know, we still got some soap right here, and there's soap all in the cracks and crevices of this vehicle. But I wanted to go ahead and quickly get it off. keep the car wet, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply my iron remover. This is a product called Iser by Vonix. Really, really great bang for your buck. It performs very well and it's super cheap compared to the other leading brands. I don't think I'll ever go back to any other type of iron remover. I think I'm gonna stick with Iser as long as they supply it at a reasonable price. I'm gonna start with the back of the car because a lot of the iron particles accumulate back here as you're driving just due to the aerodynamics. You're gonna have a lot of iron contamination right here. Good grief, it is so bumpy back here. Holy crap. So this guy right here, this is iron. You know, I've completely washed the vehicle for the most part. Really, I could dry it and call it a day, but this is embedded in the paint. This is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of stuff that you have to remove with an iron remover and a clay bar. Chemicals won't get it out. I doubt an iron remover will get it out. What's gonna happen is my clay bar is gonna pick this stuff up and it's gonna start marring the paint a little bit. That's why it's really important for me to go back and polish over it, just to remove any defects, surface level defects, I should say. Right here, this is a big guy. You can see it in the light, all that rough texture, that's all contamination that we got to remove. All right, so moving into the iron decon part, I'm just gonna give it a good, even coverage on the painted surfaces and glass. By the way, this stuff smells really bad, so if you decide to pick some of this stuff up yourself, use it and then go home to your husband and or wife, they're gonna be like, you smell really bad. So make sure you bring a change of clothes or wash thoroughly. Also, I like to do this when the car's wet because the water's gonna distribute the iron remover pretty evenly and efficiently. This stuff smells so bad. It smells like poop and farts. It's getting on my hands a little bit and it's gonna seep into my pores and I'm probably gonna smell like poop for the next few days. It's not a fun time. All right, so the entire vehicle has an even coat of iron remover. I'm gonna let it sit for about 3 to 5 minutes. Again, the entire vehicle got a nice even coat. The water's gonna spread it out, make it a little bit more efficient, I guess. I don't really know. I just like to make things up sometimes, but I did apply a liberal amount to the back just because of the aerodynamics. It kicks up a lot of that brake dust and other road grime, and it likes to settle on the back end of your vehicle. So I applied the iron remover there first and a little bit more, so that way it has a little bit more time to work. Here in a few minutes when I go to rinse this off, it's gonna be my last thorough rinse. I wanna get any remaining soap and iron remover out of every crack and crevice of this vehicle because I don't want it sitting there and then eventually causing damage, or the vehicle goes through rain later on and then the rain activates the product again and it runs down the side of the car and kind of messes up the paint a little bit. So this final rinse is gonna be a very, very long and thorough rinse. All right, before I rinse, I still have quite a few more moments to let this dwell, but here on the back side of this vehicle, here is a really good example of what's happening. So these dark streaks, they're actually purple. It's hard to tell on camera, especially against the gray. But these purple streaks, that's the product reacting with iron. What it's doing is the iron, as it reacts with the metal, it's turning acidic and breaking down the iron contamination and hopefully removing it from the pores of the clear coat. If this was a white vehicle, it would be very, very easy to see all the purple streaks. I mean, it's probably a little hard to see on camera here, but all of that is contamination left over from the wash process. Clay bar is going to pick a lot of this stuff up too. And that is exactly why we're gonna polish the paint, is because that clay bar, once it picks up these jagged, tiny microscopic pieces of metal, it's gonna mar the paint a little bit and it's gonna be ugly. And we don't like ugly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this is a vehicle completely chemically decontaminated. Technically, there's mechanical decontamination. We did the contact wash with the foam, or the wash pad. Now we're gonna move into the clay bar side of things. But I wanna point out a couple things first. So notice how flat the water's sitting on the paint. That's a really good sign. That means there's no sealants sitting on the paint. Here we can see where we're still having issues with bug guts. So even though there's not necessarily a bug gut there still, that tells me that it etched into the paint a little bit. Hopefully it's not too bad. The clay bar will kind of exfoliate that area, and then hopefully a polish will just, you know, give it nice finishing touches. So it's really hard to see, but this little speck right here, the camera will focus, that little speck right there, that's called artillery fungus. That's not gonna come out with a wash. It's just not. You gotta remove stuff like that with the a clay bar. But other than that, there's really nothing else to note. Actually, there is. Back here, there's still a lot of rough texture that we gotta remove with the clay bar. Hopefully it'll come out. I don't know. We'll do our best. That's a big piece of iron right there. Okay, so we finished up with the wheels. We did a pre-soak on the exterior, and then we did a contact wash on the exterior, and then we did an iron remover on the exterior. So now we're gonna go into our mechanical decontamination, which is the clay bar. All you need is a synthetic clay or a natural clay. I don't even know what that means, but I am using a synthetic clay right here. It's Meguiar's aggressive clay bar. It's the red one. They have 3 different levels. They have a non-aggressive, they have a mild, and then they have the aggressive. The non-aggressive, I believe, is white. The mild, which is a happy medium clay bar, is blue, and then the aggressive is red. So in this pump sprayer, I have a rinseless solution. If you don't know what rinseless is, that's another video, or you could look it up. And then I'm just gonna apply a little bit with the vehicle still wet. I haven't dried it or anything, but with the vehicle still wet, I lightly misted this quarter panel with rinseless solution, and that's gonna act as a lubrication. So you still want a little bit of lubrication between the paint and the clay to mitigate marring. It's still gonna happen, especially with an aggressive clay bar. It might not happen with a mild, but it happens to me. And then with the soft clay bar, I don't really get marring. But going straight into it, I'm just gonna cover every square inch of the paint, and I'll do the glass too. I'll clay the glass. But when it comes to the paint, I'm just gonna clay every square inch. Light pressure. I'm gonna move pretty quick. I'm gonna pick up everything that I can. Now, the key here is whenever I get to an area where I feel a little bit of resistance or a little bit of, you know, bumpiness, that's the best way I could describe it. That means there's a spot with heavier contamination. So I'll probably just go over it a little bit more. I won't necessarily use more pressure, but I mean, that's really the process for getting as much contamination out of this particular vehicle as I can with this service. All right, I just wanted to bring you in close here to kind of give you an example of what I'm doing on this hood. You can see some bug gut residue right here. We're gonna see we're gonna hope that the clay bar is gonna remove this kind of stuff. There's artillery fungus right here. I know that the clay bar is gonna shear that right off the clear coat. But give my pump spray a little pump, lubricate my clay bar. Quick little spray, that's all you need. And then just lightly go back and forth. And then if you listen, you could probably hear the clay bar shear the artillery fungus off. Let's get a listen. You can kind of hear it. All right, so I'm moving along quickly here. I'm not really feeling a whole lot of contamination. Again, I'm not gonna go crazy with it just because I really don't wanna mar the paint that much. It's gonna happen on the rear there. I just know it is. And if there is any contamination left on the paint, because it hasn't been decontaminated in, I don't think, ever, that's just gonna have to require a little bit more elbow grease that we're not gonna get to today. So I don't think I'm gonna have any issues decontaminating the rest of this car with the clay bar, except for the back. I think I'm gonna have issues with the back. I'm just gonna give it a quick once over. The polishing part, because we're not using an aggressive paint correction process, the polishing isn't gonna pick up any contamination left behind, which, by the way, the contamination left behind is gonna be very, very minute. And what was I saying? Man, I tell you what, it's so hard talking to a camera and working at the same time. It is not second nature. For this quick and easy service, I mean, if I wasn't recording, this whole process would probably take me about 3 hours, 3.5 hours for this entire vehicle. Because whenever you use an all-in-one, I'm gonna be moving so quick. And also I'm gonna be using my dual action polisher. I'm not gonna be using a rotary, obviously. I'm not gonna be using a forced rotation polisher, or machine rather. It's just gonna be a quick, cheap Griot's Garage DA, which I've had ever since I started my business almost a little over half a decade ago. And yeah, we're gonna get this thing freaking dialed in. This thing's gonna look so good. The owner's gonna be like, all right, what happened to my car? Why'd you sell it and buy a new one? This isn't rocket science. I was very scared to clay a vehicle for the first time, and that's really not tricky. It's not tricky at all. Also, if there's very little contamination on a panel, I'll probably use one side of the clay bar for the entire panel and then fold it over to get a fresh, clean side. Just like that. Super, super, super easy. I said I'd do the glass too. I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so this is the fun part. This is the rear of the vehicle. This is where it's the dirtiest. And I mean, good Lord, dude, this windshield is nasty. It's got so much contamination in it. Holy smokes. I've never seen a windshield or a back glass this bad. Rear glass, whatever it's called. I mean, look at that. That's all dirt and crud coming out of the glass. This is gonna be worse. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fold it once. I'm probably gonna do this upper strip first, and then fold it, and then do the lower strip. If it's really bad, I'm probably gonna do half of the lower strip, and then fold it again and do the other half. So 3 folds, potentially not including the glass. So I'm just gonna start light, and I'm gonna work it a little bit more. You can hear the contamination shear off from the clay bar. You know what, I'm gonna do half of it and then fold it. So four flips, or 4 folds total. It's kind of a tongue twister, 4 folds. right off the rip, we did not get rid of the bug gut etching. That's understandable because in this Florida heat, man, that sun bakes the paint. And when there's bug guts on it, that's it. There's really no going back. These would most likely come out with wet sanding. I'm not sure. We would have to test them. Is it likely? Probably not, but it is what it is. Also, I noticed that we got all the marring out that was caused by the clay bar. They're still swirling from previous washes. That's okay, but we got a lot of gloss in here and protection. It looks good. That's really slick too, to the touch. I'm impressed. This stuff's not bad. So first impressions for this stuff, I'm not a fan of how liquidy it is. I mean, this stuff comes out like water. And the reason why I'm not a fan of that is because I was ill prepared today for this. And I don't have a bottle to squeeze this out of. So I gotta freaking pour it on here. And that's a lot. Come on, Colonite, why didn't you just put this stuff in a freaking polish bottle, whatever those things are called. Good news is that a little bit goes a long way, so I'm not complaining about that. So I am running this machine on speed 4. I'm just doing about 2 quick passes. Nothing crazy here. Just want gloss and protection. That's really what this is about, is just removing the very light marring that was caused by the clay bar and protection. That's all there is to it. Oh, also, I'm just gonna polish the entire car. Let the product kind of sit, soak into the paint, and once I'm done with the entire car, I'll go back and buff it off with my towel. All right, polishing is completely done. It took me about 45 minutes or so. And here's a real test. How easily does it wipe off? Seems pretty simple, actually. I feel like it's gonna be clumpy underneath this towel as I wipe, which, that's okay, I guess. I think moving forward, I wouldn't let it dry as long. It is kind of hard to wipe off. Not too hard, I've definitely had harder. It's just a super dry paste. That's the best way I could describe it. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, this actually might be the hardest polish I've ever had to buff off before. I don't know. It's almost like I gotta get the towel primed with some polish to make it easier. That headlight came out pretty good. Well, I gotta say, I probably will never use this all-in-one ever again. I think I'm gonna throw it away. It did good, but good Lord, this is gonna be a pain to buff off. Yeah, I shouldn't have let it dry this long. That's okay though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. An exterior decontamination detail with a all-in-one polish and wax. This vehicle is going to be protected for the next, I don't know, 6 months or so, depending on how it lives. Just to kind of recap, we did well, first off, we started with the wheels and tires. So we cleaned the wheels and tires, and then we started with a pre-soak. That's going to be more along the lines of the chemical decontamination side. Then once we rinsed off the pre-soak, I went ahead and did my contact wash, and then after that I rinsed the soap off from the contact wash and then did an iron decontamination with an iron remover. And after the iron remover I did the clay bar, and then after the clay bar I did the all-in-one polish. There's a few steps, but it's pretty straightforward. You just got to kind of remember the steps needed to kind of get you where you need to go. It turned out pretty good. The front still has some bug gut etching, which I didn't want to see, but unfortunately it is what it is. Being here in Florida, you know, the hot sun's gonna bake, you know, whatever's sitting on the paint, and it's just the nature of the beast. If you have any questions as far as the procedures or products that I use to do this detail, feel free to leave a comment, ask me any question you want, and I'll do my best to get to you and answer every comment. All right, thanks, and see you on the next video.